NCRP Productions presents Unhallowed Metropolis, Secrets in the Sands, Episode 42. Welcome back to Unhallowed Metropolis, Secrets in the Sands. This is Barry, your Game Master. I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we will get started.
Hi there, I'm Jill, and I'm playing Raya the Mourner, and I'd also like to say Guten Abend to our listeners in Germany.
Hi, this is Matt, and I will be playing Ayden, the Antiquarian.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm playing Dr. Everett Wolf, the doctor specializing in alchemy and chemistry.
Hello everyone, my name is Ty, and I'm running Ray Callahan, our Pugilist.
Hi, it's Sequoia, and I'm running Frankie the Undertaker.
Hey everybody, it's Pedro. I'm running Dr. Desmond Wright, the medical doctor.
Last session, the group had left the confines of the narrow canyon that you were in, made their way up. A 6-hour trek took you finally to where you could see Amarna, or the ruins of Amarna, ahead of you. Amarna is the title or the name for the area. It's the modern day name. It's the easiest way for me to identify it. But specifically where you guys are going is the ruined city of Akhenaten.
Hell you.
Yep.
We're there.
You are there.
Nice.
So the group arrived. You guys had been making the decision. It was later in the afternoon. It was definitely still hot. You still had that pelting wind hitting on you guys. You had made the decision to tent up and stay through the night in there, ignoring the biting cold and hopefully the remaining heat of the day, and start doing work in the morning for what you're looking for. You guys have seen one of the stelae marking the outer boundary of the city. They talk to you a little bit about the direction that the city is laid out. There was a miscommunication or a misremembrance by a couple of the characters as to where and what you were going for. And in talking with the Bedouins, asking questions like, are we near the Temple of Karnak? And them kind of looking at you shocked, saying, no, not even close. It allowed you guys to ask a few more questions. You got in a discussion with Bess and Ra, explaining what you were looking for. In combination or in concert, Dr. Wright and Ayden had kind of explained that patron that you guys are working for, you did not mention Grayling by name, had sent you in the hopes to find a device that looks like, from all of the hieroglyphs that you are seeing, that it might be something that actually destroys or burns the zombies. There was a question, Bess and Ra and you guys, and again, the talk was with Ayden, but Wright was there kibitzing on it. The question was, if such a device existed, should it be allowed to leave the environs it's in? I mean, a question of, if it's here, it should be used here. They mentioned a number of times it would help us with the Shedem. So, big quandary for them. Ayden had said that yes, he had spoken, and my memory is you had, yes, he had spoken with Akbar, had explained what was happening with it, and Ayden did try to explain to both of them that in taking the device from here, the expectation was your patron thought that he could end the Shedem curse planet-wide, not just where he's at, but everywhere in the world. And this seemed to mollify them at that point.
That was also kind of a fib because I didn't want him to go nuts on us. So.
Absolutely. So then, ending that talk, Bess started asking questions of you guys. He went around the group and identified his valuation of different people around the group. He pretty much got through everyone except Mei Ling and Billings. When he asked you about Mei Ling, who he said the odd-skinned one, you had said, well, she can pull lightning from the sky, which, of course, brought wide eyes from all of the Bedouins that are there. I must remind you guys one more thing that I forgot. Zosser was kicked in the chest by one of the camels and is in bad shape, but is in stable condition. 3 broken ribs, 1 cracked rib. He is bandaged, but he is of almost no help in what you guys are doing.
Basically, Wolf's just trying to keep him as comfortable as possible and maintain his condition.
Exactly. So they all were very surprised. So there's a new respect, and you all will see it throughout the next couple days, even if I don't mention it. There will be some new respect for Mei Ling. But Bess asked you, and what of him? And you looked over and said, who? And he said, the shadow, pointing at Billings.
Vindication!
And that's where we ended.
Oh, no.
So we are inside the tent. Everyone is inside the tent. The camels are not in a tent. They have a small pegged covering and are tied down or staked down. What are we doing? It is about 5 in the afternoon. We have another roughly hour of sunlight, so we have at least another hour and a half of this rather extreme heat.
What we're doing really depends on what the Egyptian speakers tell the English speakers.
Exactly, because I don't think that's been being translated as far as I know.
So, well,
The English speaker who speaks Egyptian tells all the other English speakers.
Well,
So-
But you guys all did see him point at Billings.
Right.
And at Mei Ling.
You know, honestly, that's enough for me.
So,
That's enough.
I was going to say, well, yes, I need to consult with my fellow travelers here about our plans tomorrow and let them know what's going on. Do you guys need a break or anything? Or
Well, Bess will say yes, but you didn't answer the question. The value for that one.
Why does Ayden look so concerned?
he
A lot.
Well, it's very hot.
he's got good organizational skills. Yeah, that's it.
He seems like he's lying.
Yes, he's also kind of helping fund this endeavor.
So he brings money.
Yes,
Maybe that is why he is the way he is.
and an airship.
What is this?
An airship is like when you take a pig bladder and you blow it up, fill it full of air, then you kick it around, except they fill it with a special kind of air that lets it float, and you could sail across the sky with it.
It is a Egyptified version of the word, but he says, the Zeppelin then.
Yes.
Very good. He owns one.
Yes.
And Ra and Bess will look at each other. I don't remember if there is not a cold read. What have we been using? Psychology. If you will give me a psychology roll.
What's psychology?
So just give me it with straight wits.
We might get to have the Billings problem fixed for us.
I've been itching for that.
I know character-wise it would be really a bad move for us, but
Don't you know
player-wise,
it's law of the desert? You kill him, you take what he owns.
You take his water. No. So that would be 16.
So with a 16, you see them look at each other, and there's definitely something unspoken going on between them. With a 16, you do not believe it is nefarious, but there is definitely something unspoken. They've had a discussion, you suspect, about something. One more thing I will bring back from the last few sessions of the game and the time that you have been with the two different Bedouin groups. It's not that they're rude, impolite, they don't snub each other, they don't, smack shoulders or anything like that. They don't even glare at each other. But the two pairs do not move together with you at any point. They each keep their distance. Tonight, as all of this has been coming together, for the first time you guys were seeing them be conversant. The easiest way would be to say identifying that the other ones exist. Up to this point, you could see they might not effectively even see them. So,
I was curious about something you said there. What do you mean the shadow?
So he looks at you oddly. He looks at Ra. Ra looks over at Billings. And all you guys, this is what you're seeing is just my description of what they're doing. Ra looks at Billings, looks at you.
I look at Billings.
Billings is, for all of you guys, Billings is just sitting there. My suspicion is he's writing something in one of his booklets. And not a whole lot. Ra looks at Bess, raises an eyebrow, and Bess says, "You don't see it." He says, you are a man of the desert. Akbar told us this.
I'm taking a look at him, seeing.
Okay. Go ahead and give me
Just
a
writing the word
parapsychology roll.
conspicuous over
Parapsychology
and over.
roll.
Yeah.
I have that.
That's
I
a
have
whole
that.
new area of
Can we all make it? We're all
psychology that I
No, because you don't
that I
have
don't.
the direction to push you to. Frankie could if Frankie was aware of what's going on.
That's actually really good.
So, what do I add to that? Is that I don't have
Parapsychology.
parapsychology.
You don't have it, then it's going to be a wits perception roll.
Okay, so that's going to be 19.
So with a 19, Billings looks weak. Billings looks small. Without the group around him, you don't think Billings would make it here in the desert. As you take a quick scan around the room at the different people that are here, I'm not sure what you would call it. The group is an adventuring group. It's a hardy group. I mean, you look at Raya, you look at Rey, you look at Frankie, you look at Marud. Those four, they are power. You see that visibly, the way they stand, the way they carry themselves.
So it's less that like he just follows us around and really doesn't do anything.
That
and
could
more
be
of
easily
he just
one
doesn't
way.
have that awesome heroic aura.
No, because Mei Ling doesn't have that. But no, I think what you said first would be the direction, exactly the direction that you would think, is he's simply following. And Mei Ling follows, but you've given them a reason why Mei Ling is different. I mean, think about what you just told him.
Right.
She's Thor. Although they don't have Thor, she can pull lightning from the sky. Well, all right, when we need that,
Right.
that's the bitch we want on our side, you know?
Hey, Mei Ling, we need you to call down thunder now. What?
Right.
We told them you could pull lightning from the sky.
So I think that's a perfect way for Ayden to look at it, is that he literally follows. Although what's humorous in the way you're looking at that is he doesn't tend to follow. He tends to run like a small child towards things.
That is
First,
true.
a lot of times. The other option would be money. The other option would be that hollowness. So remember that the Bedouins are not materialistic. I don't know that they are today, but they certainly aren't in this game. They have so little. What they get, they are incredibly thankful for. They, of course, would love to have more. And when you bring them trade goods, or when you offer them stuff to make their lives better, they are very thankful of that. So a man who potentially has so much money that he could frivolously buy a flying ship, yeah, you got a pretty good handle on the word shadow.
Okay. So, anyway, I'm going to ask him, I'm going to excuse myself, say I need to have a little meeting with the people here. I think everything, unless there's something you would recommend we do, but I figure you guys could relax or something.
What do you wish? What is the group's decision on setting a watch? I do not believe that we are safe in the way that, and he looks over, seems to be neutral glance, not angry, not accusatory, but he says, I'm curious with what Abrax said. I don't believe we are safe. Nothing may approach us. We are at a site of deadness.
Using my survival, how long is the night? Probably.
So you are looking at probably around 12 hours in total. That's roughly. I mean, you've got a point at which when the sun goes down in Egypt, the sun is on and then it's off.
Right.
I mean, there's not really that twilight time frame because there's no mountain to bounce off.
Right.
In the morning, it's almost the same thing. There's a hue change, there's a second hue change, and then it's on.
Right. That's when the sun goes below the disk and then comes up on the other side of the
Exactly.
disk.
Well,
Right.
it's when it travels through the underworld.
Right.
Yep. And that's why there are 12 hours of night.
All right.
We're all in agreement. Yes.
How many people? I figured we would need at least 2 people watching.
Well, last night you guys chose under... I think it was Frankie's decision, but last night you chose to do 3 watches, combining one of yours with one of theirs.
Okay, why don't we just do the same thing then?
Okay. Which will be Abrax and Ra and Bess.
Right.
Okay, very
and,
good.
I'll get volunteers for that for you.
Okay. Do you do that now?
I'll look over them and say, we need volunteers for 3 watches tonight. Who wants to do a watch?
Volunteer.
All right.
As always? Yeah, and those are the 3 who did it last night as well.
Oh no, I didn't get to put my hand up in time.
Oh, dearie me. So, these are the three that have been doing watch. So all of you, because of the previous night's lack of sleep, each of you are going to be making a roll. Assuming nothing happens through the night, each of you will make a roll to be fine the next day. Everyone else, assuming nothing wakes you up during the night or ruins the sleep, you're not going to be making that roll. Okay? Something to consider, you guys have limited water, and you have not looked into what the other pack animal that disappeared took. You know that you have foodstuffs. You don't know whether or not you've got water. You guys can take a quick look and see, and that's going to be your issue. You have lost the extra water skins.
Well, I'm going to go take care of that once the sun goes down for my Antiquarian thing.
Okay.
For finding resources and
So
stuff.
it is possible that you may find enough for yourself, but here I'm just going to warn you ahead of time, because you would have been already looking on the way in. If you don't go back the 6 hours to that valley, that last channel that you went through, you're not. Remember where I told you had running water? You're not going to be getting water here.
Okay.
You may be able to find some dried foodstuffs, that type of thing. Just to let you know.
Okay.
You can, with that, survive. And survive off the land means literally survive, not flourish. You can survive off the land, but for water, you would not be able to find enough to feed the group.
I imagine, though, that since the city was here, there had to be a source of water.
You would think so, yes.
So there might be a well nearby. So
That is
that's what I'm
possible.
thinking
That's
I'm
true.
going to look for.
Okay.
So
So you get the group together.
So, Mei Ling, I was curious. Using our modern concepts, I'm guessing that this sphere is probably something that's powered by, or is Tesla-like in nature. I know there's a lot of speculation that the pyramids were used as sort of energy collectors, and the top parts were used as lights. And I was wondering, do you think if we took, say, a Tesla, what do you guys call them? Torches, yes. If we took a Tesla torch and we went around something, that we might be able to pick out where it is, like it might activate a flashlight?
So she looks at you. She has a perplexed look, and she says, she doesn't seem to be able to get a hold of the words. She stops for another moment, puts her hand to her face, takes it away slowly. She looks directly at you. So, what I believe you are asking, if I'm understanding it right, is, do the pyramids produce energy that could be taken in by one of the receptors, say one of the galvanic guns or torches?
No, more I'm saying is that this golden disc, let's assume that the Egyptians existed.
You're talking about Grayling's picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say it had to have a power source that functioned similar to, many of the, what's the word you British people use?
She says, I'm not
Galvanic.
British.
Yes. Apologies. I didn't mean to infer anything bad about you.
It's not a bad thing. It's an accuracy thing.
Yep. But let's say in theory it worked on the same galvanic principles that the Egyptians discovered.
You're
discovered.
saying that the modern progressive technology that has allowed us to create galvanics could somehow be based on something created by the Egyptians some 3,000 to 8,000 years ago? This is what you're proposing?
Yeah, this is one of my theories. Yes, I'm saying this.
Yes.
Yes.
So anyone can pipe in.
I'm just sitting here listening.
Even Wolf's whatever he was doing, no, it's hard to break him out of this. But even this is kind of like him closing his book and kind of like.
I look over at Wolf and raise an eyebrow,
Is anyone watching Billings?
Always.
Yes.
Yes.
So the three of you will notice as they're talking, Billings is very quietly looking through, just, kind of picking piece by piece. He's looking through his backpack.
Freak.
There have been many theories proposed by scholars across the world that the pyramids were used as batteries, and that the ancient Egyptians used it for, and I forget the name of the process, but basically gold plating, adding gold to things. I think it's electrosis, but that might be something to do with awkward beard hairs. But
That's electrolysis.
yeah, I digress. Anyway,
So she looks at you. She says, the Chinese also went this direction, although the pyramids don't take the same shape as those in Egypt. But I believe that is more fiction than fact. Nobody has chosen to go in that direction in galvanic study that I know of.
well, as I'm fond of saying, all legends...
Here it is. Billings says, I've got it. And he brings out one of the penny dreadfuls. All of you know what these are. These are the small, inexpensive pamphlets. He says, hey, this is it. This will explain it to you much better.
All right, and I'll look at it.
So what it is exactly what you guys all think it is. It is a piece of fictional work talking about the pyramids. It is, as you're quick scanning it, it is somebody going to Egypt and being able to create a galvanic connection between his weapon and the tops of the pyramids.
So I'll show that to Melee. So yes, I realize.
Right, all right.
Anyone watching Mei-Ling, her face will break from the clean and crisp, nearly porcelain look that she normally has to one of kind of dumbstruck awe. She
So I
says,
realize it's a story, but
and she hands it back to
But-
Billy. She says, Arthur?
all stories have a basis in truth or fact, some root thing that kind of created the legend, if you will.
A basis in fact. Ayden, I was all right sitting here having you talk about this a moment ago,
Well-
but the minute you bring out a penny dreadful, Ayden, this was written. Billings, when was that written?
But these legends have existed.
It says, this is from 3 months ago.
Okay, yes.
Just
so
before we
3
left.
months ago,
These
we had
stories have existed, though, all throughout.
Yes, well, the
recorded
average
history.
writer is not going to have access to information on Egypt. They're going to have it, and they're going to have.
Are you sure about that? The
I'm not
British
looking
were
over.
very active in my country before the.
But they're not going to have the kind of galvanic technology that we had now.
I'm
in
gonna
order
snag the book from
to
Billy.
have.
Well, if you reach in, he'll hand it to you.
My
He'll look-
example is sound. Wait. So
Are there
it was
photos
a
in it?
popular belief
There's
that
drawings.
the Egyptians somehow knew how to make eggs, produce them because we had so many. Because of these, we had developed a way of hatching eggs by not having to have the chicken sit on them.
But
So-
evolution is a lot
But
different than galvanics.
hold up. It doesn't matter though. And a legend existed to something that was true. What if my ancestors possibly had figured out some way of capturing the ambient electricity in the air, much like Tesla and his towers do, and had a way to use it to do simple things? And this Etom, who imagined himself to be a god, perhaps he figured out or how to create a weapon, some sort of weapon that worked on a similar principle. All I'm asking is that could we use the flashlights, or perhaps could you modify one of the flashlights to be able to sense, like, for energy sources?
So when you mention Aten, I don't know that you guys could choose who would notice, but Abrax comes over. Frankie, you will definitely notice because Abrax will touch your shoulder gently and then point at the magazine that you're looking at, the Penny Dreadful, and put his hand out, and he says
Yeah, I'll hand
something
it over.
quietly, and he also looks through it, and then you will see him, and it's moments, most of this talk goes on, he looks through, he looks back to the other two, which is Bess and Ra, and then of course Zasser, who's mostly out, and he shakes his head and hands it back to you.
Hold on. Let me get to my Egyptian words.
And this is very quiet. This should not interrupt, like I've been interrupting here at the game, but it should not interrupt you guys at all.
I will say, no, I won't stand for this.
I'm gonna point at the picture of whatever, the gun with the
Right.
pyramids, and I'm gonna say in Egyptian, like this.
So he says, yeah, you would know the word. He says, no.
I'm gonna look. Is Cal next to me or Marood?
They're sitting there. I mean, they're in. It's not a big tent.
I'm gonna like gesture for Cal to come
Cal
over.
will
to
lean
our
over.
little crew.
Uh-huh.
Ask him where it is like this or how it is like this.
So Cal quickly asks and says to you, nothing is like this. He heard the Aten, which is the sun for a full religion, a religion that's not practiced anymore, but they are at least aware of it. And he was looking to see what the connection would be. I believe, Frankie, that what they're looking for is what you're looking for. I believe they're worried that we're going to take it.
Do you think that it will work for the whole planet?
I don't think it's real. But that's why I'm here.
I think that I would have agreed with you 3 years ago. But I've seen some really unbelievable things in my travels.
We have too. And Cal looks at Marud. So while you guys are talking, you guys are still talking.
The ground of this place is it covered in blankets and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna shove some. Is it a big one or can I?
They're fairly big blankets.
Okay, fine. Then
I'm gonna pull out a knife.
I'm gonna. Then I'll pull out.
Oh no,
paper,
my down pump.
I'll rip it out of my journal and I'll slap it on the front of it, and I'm gonna start drawing out galvanic equations stating like why they would need to have a massive. They would have to create energy in the air. By the way,
What is your galvanics at? Is it 2 if I remember?
4.
You're at 4. So Mei Ling will look in, and again, anyone who wants to notice this will notice. Mei Ling will look in and notice. You'll see that she puts her hand towards the paper and then pulls it back and nods as soon as he changes the number. He's like, oh wait, and changes something back. And she's without saying a word, she is conferring with him and agreeing with his equations.
I'm just being a shitty science dude. I'm just like, no, this is not.
Yes, Ray.
Ray is thinking. I know, scary thought. So, is there a giant temple outside in this city? Do I see a temple?
So again, they've identified from last session. They did tell you there is a large temple, but there's not a large standing temple. The area that you guys looked at is almost completely flat, except for the small rise and fall of the land itself. The tallest area, the largest standing component from ground level. Now, maybe you go down, 10 feet as far as like the slope of the hill is 10 feet and the sand has filled it up, so maybe something's taller. But the largest thing you guys saw just looking at I'm going to put air quotes up here, the city, was a broken down stone wall that maybe at its apex was 7 feet tall. There is nothing 10 feet tall here. Not even trees.
Just a brief side question, if you don't mind. What is a stele in this situation?
So the Stellai,
Stelae.
what they are what the Masons now use as cornerstones. This is something to identify where the boundaries of something is. In the case of Egypt, from what I've understood, from what I've read, they were markers for the edge of towns, the edge or cities, the edge of shrines, the edge of temples. It's a way to notice the boundaries if you were going to build a new temple or connect on. So Karnak itself is a great example. Karnak is the largest temple complex in the world, meaning it is the largest conglomeration of temple connected to temple connected to temple.
Okay.
Each stelae was to map out where we were going to build from.
Okay, thanks, Ty.
Alright, I don't know a bloody thing about galvanics, but let's say that there was a giant-ass temple out there. What if there were a lightning storm? It's a big old flat desert. You build a giant temple in the middle of it. Lightning's gotta go somewhere, don't it?
Well, see, now that I could see helping at least for a moment. Ray, I'm impressed.
Wolf's been thinking. He doesn't say anything, but there's a thought that's starting to go in his head because he's thinking about the way that it's been drawn. It's not drawn like lightning. It's drawn like sun rays, and
It's drawn like sun rays or a beam.
Exactly, and maybe you could see some aspect of it, but then why the sun imagery? Why would the sun imagery be the case if it was galvanics? That's the thing that he's having trouble with. But then there's a thought that's going through his mind. And he starts opening up, like, a notebook, and he starts drawing out equations. And he's pausing periodically, thinking through, like, almost, like, through a periodic table in his head. And he's, for the most part, what he's trying to theoretically come up with in his mind is if one were to take a certain type of, like, let's say, certain type of fluid, put it in like a glass sphere that you could easily turn in ways, one way or the other, if it were to be exposed to light, would create this sort of alchemical effect of like blazing.
So
burning
possibly a prism or a magnifying glass type effect, either splitting the rays or narrowly focusing the rays.
Exactly,
Okay.
but when it
rays,
interacts
personally.
with this, but when it interacts with this alchemical fluid, turns it into an actual, like, you know, weaponized sort of thing. So that's what he's trying.
He's
to see.
working on. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's working on, seeing if it's actually theoretically possible.
Well, my point is, could we maybe configure one of these torches to perhaps either respawn near to a power source, or my theory was I could just take it into the ruins, and if it went on, then we knew.
She
where to
interrupts.
get
She
it.
interrupts you. You're still talking, but she trails off with you. She says, "Doctor, what about this?" And she starts lining out things on the paper that you have been drawing on. And she says, "What if we were to set up a receptor, even for something small? I mean, it wouldn't be able to do much more. I mean, we're going to be dealing with sandstorms, and just goes on. You know, lightning strike,
I'm not paying attention to her.
static. She's drawn right in your lap.
I know.
Have you glazed over?
I'm literally not. I don't. From this, like, from the cave onward, her word is like.
Okay.
I don't care. If I wasn't obsessed with this, I'd probably be an asshole to her.
Yeah.
The other possibility, and it's kind of what got me down on this path, and perhaps might be our.
Wolf's completely, like, seems to be completely zoned out.
You guys are terrible
From everyone.
conversationalists.
Right. Well, you've
Well,
got a bunch of
My idea
scientists
is
who
there's
all have
a
propulsion.
legend that Archimedes supposedly built a ray that could set ships on fire. He also spent a great deal of time in Egypt studying a lot of their technology and brought it back to Greece. It could be that Ayden's device is where he got the idea for his so-called death ray.
Some pretty dreadfuls are true.
I can't unpack that right now, Frankie.
So Mei-Ling stops when you say death ray. So she says, "So we're off subject, but you're now going the other direction. You're not talking about something that would end the zombies, but would take. You're talking about the Ark of the Covenant."
Explain? I'm not too familiar
How cold
with
is
that.
it outside? It's cold.
You're gonna go take first watch.
Yep.
Out of curiosity, London's probably not going to develop solar power, considering.
Probably not gonna develop
so that's
solar
not
power.
going to come into my brain.
No, because you're missing microtransmitters.
Well, that and the sun.
And the sun, yes. So when I was introduced to the stories of your, and she stops for a moment, she says, when I was introduced to stories of the Christian mythos and the Bible that houses them, I had understood that there was something called the Ark, that the Israelites, anyone watching the Egyptians, they were all kind of look at that word.
And the light, like anyone looking at me, it's like a light goes off in my head. I'm
Says
like,
the Israelites had something that was able to smash their enemies.
right, destroy them. I like. You see, there's too many coincidences here.
Anytime, Frankie, that Catholic is burning in you.
So Sequoia doesn't know what I would know, but
Uh-huh.
I'm ready to.
Yeah.
So what would I know?
Well, you would know exactly that in the Old Testament. That was one of the things. I mean, this is why Raiders of the Lost Ark is such a great movie. But yeah, the Israelites would carry this thing called the Ark. In many different explanations today what it is. They would carry it into battle, and they would win battles against great enemies, great in number, great in strength, and they would win.
Oh yeah, that's real.
I love it.
Frankie's a good Catholic boy. Remember that.
Very good.
If you take this and you say that there's a holy object that lets you win battles, you take away from any sense that they could have just been expert strategists.
Look, here's what I know. The Spring Heel Jack, I thought that was nonsense. And then Krell had really good jumping. and that was impressive. I didn't think that was real.
I have it here too. I have right here. I have the
I'll
Springfield
hold
Jack
it.
story.
I'll hold
Billings
it
hands
like
it.
I'm preaching, and I'm going to say, and if this was real, then
Oh,
that
it was
one,
real. It was. Billings is just on it. It was real. I've read so many stories.
And if this is real, and I heard someone read me another one that was real, then that means that this one could be real. What's it going to hurt?
There's also the story in the Bible of the horn that I believe it was David blew that brought
Gabriel.
down. No,
No, they
David.
brought down the
another
walls of
one.
Jericho.
These, and this is my point. All of these could be a world or an interpretation of what people are seeing that they didn't quite understand or know how it would work.
Ray, you would tell him Joshua blew the horn. I'm not
Ray
Ray. I'm
does
sorry.
not
I'm sorry. Not. I apologize. Frankie, you would tell him Joshua blew the horn.
You're almost
my
right,
apologies.
but that's fine. Point being, we should fix up the flashlight, or torch, and see what happens.
Well, I think I've got something there, Dr. Wright. If you'll look at the specs, it's just a question of being able to build it out here in the middle of nowhere with no civilization to build from.
Here's my
And I look down
Torch.
and notice that she's written on my schematics, and I'm gonna say, "Well, this is poppycock," and I'll crumble it, and I'm gonna just like I'll toss it into the fire, and I'll say,
Damn.
"We cannot build this out here. The best I could do is this," and I'll open my valise, pull out a torch, and say, "Let's test it." Flick. And I'll
Right,
put
and then
it
what's
on.
funny is that Ayden has just handed you a torch
Oh,
as
did you
well.
have one?
No, I
Yeah.
handed it to
He handed it to Mei Ling, and you pull out
and
a
I
torch.
handed
And
her
I
a
just, like, flick it
toolkit.
on
Right,
off.
and
Small toolkit.
Mei Ling puts the torch towards you and just shows it to you. She's, as you can tell, she's becoming aware that the attack is on her. You can see that because she's now doing a little one-upsmanship with you.
Dr.
She's-
Wright, you're just jealous that it's not your idea.
Why would I be jealous of an idea of trying to make Tesla power out of the pyramids? To what effect?
Sorry.
Doc, you can't break the mold on all of them.
I'm not certain that it's real, Doctor. I'm not even certain we can do something like that, but maybe we could change the pickup,
Saw that face.
bring it down low enough.
Why does everyone think I have a horse in this race? I don't care about this. I heard inaccurate science and I jumped in. If you all want to spend your time trying to downgrade this thing to pick up low levels of electronic frequency that you wouldn't be able to tell if it came off of a pyramid or not, go for it. I
Okay,
truly
thank
don't
you,
care.
Doctor. We will. Thanks
So,
for the permission.
if
Mei Ling says, so then, Doctor, you're telling me you don't wish to be a part of this. You would not like
I'm
to...
telling you, I don't care. Do as you wish, Mei Ling. If you would like to go ahead and modify the torch, go for it.
What I would like is your help. You seem to have a strong grasp of it based on what I saw before you tossed it into the fire.
No, I think I'd rather sleep.
Very good.
How tall is the Stellite?
Oh, the stela that you guys saw is approximately 3 foot by 3 foot.
Oh. Okay.
And it's laying it's laying down, not standing up.
Darn. Okay.
And so Mei Ling will look at you and say, Ayden, I believe I will try. I cannot promise anything. Though I don't have the attitude of the fine doctor there, I'm also rather skeptical of any ability for this to work.
I understand. I figure it's a theory. We test it, and if it doesn't work, we come up with another theory.
A secondary problem is this. If I remember correctly, we are going to 3 more places here and 2 others
Yes.
to look for things. And she looks at the Bedouins just kind of for a half second. She says, did your patron, rather than saying the name, did your patron tell you this was where he expected to find that item? Here?
No, but
When she said here, she actually looks at Dr. Wright. I know he's sleeping. I know he's laid down, but she's looking at Dr.
Well, I
Wright.
haven't slept yet. I'm not
All right.
sleeping
So
yet.
she's looking at you.
I'm going off the approach that it could be at either one of the sites, and that this theory might work at either one of the sites.
So one additional concern would be this. Assume, for a moment, if you will, with Frankie, that the device exists, that it truly exists at the level that we're thinking. And we were to take this modified torch. We are hoping then that it is taking the power source that is powering this device and powering this torch.
Correct.
Proximity becomes a large thing. One of the amazing perfections of the Tesla Tower is the distance at which it is able to send power. We might have to be completely on top of it. It is possible that the device would have to be turned on. Once a Tesla Tower is completely wound down, turning it back up is the only way to get any power generated. So I will do my best.
I realize that is a concern, but I'm hoping that the normal amount of storms and things that we get and lightning may have kept it at least somewhat of a level.
You can see, as she's nodding to you, you can see her brain is working on something. But she takes the torch, she takes the toolkit, and she goes close enough to the fire that she has light from that in combination with the 1 or 2 lamps that you guys have set up in here.
Can I see the rest of you outside just to discuss some things? So we don't disturb her?
Yes, that sounds preferable.
You'll notice that Ray is already not here. And now that you think about it in your head, you realize Ray went outside.
Ray's always like, I got crackpot ideas, so I'm used to it by now.
You do have crackpot ideas.
So who all goes outside with Ayden?
I'll go outside.
I'll go outside.
Wolf is completely absorbed in what he's doing.
All right, so Wolf does not,
I'll
Mei Ling
stop
does
by
not.
Wolf, and I'll say, Wolf, will you join us?
Billings does look up from his backpack, but does not get up. Do you direct a hand towards Cal or Marut at all?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of a thought. I'll
Will
join
get up.
you later.
Both
I'll
will
say,
get up and join.
Can't interrupt that, and I'll pat you on the shoulder and keep moving.
Is that in that moment that you jiggle him for a moment, he's like, for a moment it almost looks like it ruined, but he's looking at it funny, and then he sort of turns it and just turns it into some symbol that he wasn't thinking about, and starts going off another trail of thought as he starts going on.
And I just think, damn, I'm good.
Billings, I would invite you to join us, but
Oh no. Go on. Go on. I'm still looking for something.
quick question.
Unless you need me.
Well, quick question on a character. Does any of our guides speak English? Because I thought one of them might have.
No. None of
Okay.
none of the 4 Bedouins speak anything that you are aware of as English. It's possible they're faking it, but not that you've been aware of. They have 1 or 2 words total, way less than Frankie has, that they've been able to, because you say them so often, they will parrot back, and the first couple times they parroted it back like, was that the right word? And now they kind of do it at the right time.
All right. Billings, I'm not trying to exclude you, but...
Oh, no. If you don't need me, I'm fine here.
All right. And I'll head out.
Okay. So everybody is going out, and Ray is out watching. So you get Ray, they all come out to you.
Ray.
Oh boy, what'd you guys break this time?
So
Everyone but Wolf quit.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to kind of bring it up.
Are you wound around Ray?
I
Or are you
figure
in the
we're just in a
vicinity of
group
Ray?
with Ray. Like
Okay.
vicinity
It
of
is
Ray.
still very hot out here.
So
Okay, good. I was thinking cold, but...
Nope, we're not there yet.
Okay.
our guides made an interesting observation of Billings.
Yes.
In fact, they referred to him as the Shadow.
Cal will say a shadow.
A Shadow.
A shadow. Or
And-
the shadow.
and at
Actually,
first I
the
thought-
specific thing he said was the shadow.
The Shadow. And at first I believed that this could possibly be just because he's kind of a tag-along. But I don't know. I kind of got a funny feeling.
Oh, you got a funny feeling? You mean kind of like the feeling I got the other night in the cave? When I thought something was suspicious about Billings, and you all told me, "Oh, don't do that," and then we just let Mei Ling do her little whammy on my brain, and everyone just bypassed that. But no, this Billings, the Shadow, is perfectly fine.
What?
I apologize.
So are we going to listen to Ayden tonight? Or is Billings bad now?
Can somebody fill me in on what the hell is going on?
Can I make a parapsychology roll now?
You absolutely may.
I apologize,
hoping
Doctor.
to
I'm
gain.
not.
I want to figure out what kind of monster he is.
I
He's a
apologize.
bored millionaire.
He's an energy vampire.
He's the worst kind of monster. A billionaire.
I got an 18.
You don't think it's Bonagal again, do you?
Absolutely Bonagal.
So that's the direction Frankie is going? All right. So Frankie kind of thinks about the last few... Well, the time from Bonagal finally leaving the last host till now. You don't think so. Billings is still the Billings that you have seen since you landed in Egypt. So for the crew that came over with him, Billings has been very excited to see and learn everything like a sponge. You know, not childlike in his interest, but not a child. Not like a 4 or 5-year-old that quickly gets bored. If he's asking questions, he doesn't stop. Now, in that way, childish because he doesn't realize, hey, quit it.
Sure.
You know, but he has really not changed. Now, he is different here than he was in Prussia. And he is different here in the exact same way as Prussia and the first trip with him.
I didn't go on the first trip.
Right. So for the few that were on the first trip, that is just Raya, and I don't think either of the two of you have gone this route. So we'll ignore that. So Prussia to now, Billings is different. In Prussia, Billings was reserved. He seemed to be very concerned about getting the Zeppelin, making certain that there was a way to refuel, making sure that they were doing the stops, laying it out. He was very businesslike, very specifically oriented. Since he's been here, he's a tourist. And you have heard Mei Ling, I believe once, I don't think it's been twice, it could have been twice, say something that effect, you know, we're on vacation, we're learning. But he has, thinking back, you guys start remembering. He asked questions about the camels. He asked questions about the pyramids. He asked questions about the sand. Now, he's asked good questions like, could we set something up to be able to take a tour of the pyramids, take a tour of the far end of Cairo? Could we? All of these things, but much more than even the compulsive two doctors and their in-depth. He is bordering on, did you go with the group? I don't think you did. Did you go with the group to Grayling's home before they left? Were you there? I feel like it was just you and Raya.
Yeah, Frankie wasn't there. It was
Dr.
Krell.
Wright, Raya,
Krell was there.
and Krell.
Yeah.
Okay. So you wouldn't know that one either. But yeah, he's way more like he just, I'll say it again. He appears to be a sponge for information, and he doesn't seem to have a specific direction. I guess, if you think about it, there might be a reason to know something of camels for tourism, but the level of what he was asking was insane. But no, you don't feel Bonagal.
Okay.
You don't think it's that. Not to say it can't be,
Sure.
but that's not what you feel. And if I remember correctly, nope, you guys didn't. I was going to say, if I remember correctly, you guys talked to the woman, but she passed out after the spirit went through the roof, and you guys left her. So
we really didn't do much follow-up. We saw a red wisp disappear.
Wrong. I went and cleaned up vomit.
Yep.
Yeah, you did. You okay? Fine.
Off yourself and off the floor. But you guys left her out when you guys left in the night because it was a speed thing, and I totally know that.
Vomit.
She's Bonagal now. So we've condemned them in a few ways.
Maybe the real Bonagal was the friends we made along the way.
Bonagal, the demon of friendship.
So
Friendship is chaos, children.
So please, Ayden, continue. What were you concerned of?
well, yeah, I took a good hard look at him. I didn't see anything out of place, but I did sort of have a weird feeling.
What were you looking for?
I was wrestling camels. What happened in the cave?
What happened in the cave? The camels were going after Billings in particular, and I wanted to see and make sure that he wasn't bit, say maybe an animate bite or something like that. I simply wanted to do an examination, be the doctor you all wanted me to be.
Did he
but
comply?
No. Sorry. Yes, he was going to comply, but then Mei Ling stepped in. An unnecessary amount, and then she used whatever branch of the magic she uses, she tried to use it on me.
So, at this point, Cal's going to lean in. Doctor, not questioning your sanity, but are you certain? Mei Ling was a concerned wife, and we've all seen that. I'm certain that she would wish to take care of her own. And I will mention that she has, in a number of cases that I've seen, used non-Western medicine for healing. Maybe she chose to do that for her husband. But I am more concerned about the thing she did to you. Could you?
I'll pit. Cal. He's talking, and I'm just like rubbing my forehead. Cal, you're still young. I've been on many travels. I've been with psychics. I've been with paranormal and people. I've seen all kinds of things. I'm sure you have too. I know when somebody's trying to fiddle around in my head without me knowing. I have an acute sense of that.
That'd be awful.
Yes, it would, Frankie. It is a terrible thing to fiddle in someone's mind without them knowing.
No.
And I will not stand for it, personally.
Raya, I need you, specifically and only you, to give me a wits perception roll.
Knowing...
You can keep going, though, guys.
You disgust me, Dr. Wright.
Knowing what... knowing very little of galvanics, but my understanding was there was a way to...
22.
A la Frankenstein, animate a person. Is it possible he could be something like that? Or is that just,
Well,
the garbage of Penny Dreadfuls?
and I'll think and I'll say, well, theoretically, yes, it is possible to reanimate a corpse, yes. I've heard tales that yes, but usually there's signs of that from the research that I've read. Sewing, stitching, we all who were in the cave saw far too much Billings.
So he did comply.
Yes, Frankie. After whatever Mei Ling didn't work, she didn't have another outlet to use other than more force, and for some reason she relented at that moment.
You think Billings is dead?
Well, he's simply saying that he's wondering if he is reanimated. However, I think he would be closer to something called an anathema, if that. Usually there's something inherently wrong with them, which could... No, not usually curiosity. Well, anyway.
Does he seem dumber to you guys?
Well, now that you mention it...
At the risk of being accused of being mean, he's always seemed kind of slow.
Well,
You didn't know him before in Prussia even. He seemed less annoying.
Frankie, you're right. Now that I think about it, I was less annoyed at him in Prussia.
How do we tell if he's an enigma?
Well, Frankie, bless you, he is an enigma, but an anathema...
Whatever.
There's blood tests you could run. There's going to be markers. I could run some tests, but I don't think Mei Ling's going to be too keen on that.
She's a reasonable woman.
Say, well, if you would wish to... Actually, Frankie, I'm not going to say that. Frankie, before we go down the road of anathema, let's try and rule out possession or spiritual whatever. I don't really know.
He doesn't seem like a threat, though.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. He hasn't really done anything that's directly harmful. How dangerous is this anathema?
Oh, well,
anathema.
they could be quite as dangerous as you designed them to be.
He's
I
too soft.
highly doubt
Too soft.
that he is dangerous.
Well, it all depends on... Okay, well, I could go down a road of different ways you could jam poison needles into somebody's skin for them to use, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think...
I hope that's not here.
That seems like a lot, and I don't know why Mei Ling would go through all that just to create. Just like she could bodyguard herself rather than have, but then again, maybe working in British politics and business would be easier if you were able to create your own British person.
I was about to say, perhaps she uses him as a front, and she is the brains of the operation, the actual brains.
See, now that I would believe.
As much as it doesn't want to come out of my mouth, Billings isn't business dumb. He's just people dumb.
That's true, he is people dumb.
I've met many, Cal says, people in society that match him. Narrow, and all of you will notice Dr. Wright give me a wits perception roll. And what was happening, why I had you make a wits perception roll, Raya, is with your 22, you will notice that Cal and Marud are quietly talking while remaining focused, but you can see they are definitely talking to each other as this is going on.
15.
All right, so everyone else will notice that as Cal's saying this, Cal is specifically avoiding looking at Dr. Wright. But narrow, directly minded, possibly in the case of a doctor, it would be the loss of, say, or not the loss of, but a poor bedside manner, something like that. A focus on your work and the things that you do to the exclusion of others. I mean, Billings could easily be that for business. I believe the term was coined a while ago, savant, and maybe he's that. No awareness of other things. His annoyance, Doctor, and now Cal is looking directly at you, his annoyance to you, Doctor, is from what? His continuous questioning?
Yes, I suppose that would be it.
I believe that's...
a bit much.
And Cal says, I know that is what is bothering Marud. And Cal looks, and Marud gives a single nod that you all see.
That's the most annoying thing or anything we've seen.
Oh my god, Marud can actually be annoyed?
He's
That's
like
actually the
2
biggest
seconds
revelation.
from squishing Billings' head.
His dreams.
I think that
If it's...
Mr. Billings is a nuisance, but he's not harmful or dangerous.
I don't know what it would be. So if he were an anathema, what evil, problem, causalities, what could happen? I mean, I would believe that you would at least have some understanding of these things, Doctor. What could he do? How could he affect us in a negative way?
Oh, well.
I don't like that, Michael.
Well, then
Here we
countless
go.
numbers of ways. I mean, let's say he was a faulty anathema. We could be riding along and his leg could fall off, and he could... Maybe they messed up, and he now has some kind of complication in his blood that leads animates to us. Let's see here. Every once in a while, they sometimes go a little insane and try to kill the ones they create.
Billings couldn't kill us.
Well, yes, but you're talking about a creature that has all its faculties together. But if you take a person and you strip away all the little bits that allow them to think, well, really, they don't have anything holding them back at that point.
Myself, or Rey, or Marud, or Raya could kill him very easily.
Oh, yes, I do believe that. So
Actually, Doctor, that's not true. I have dealt with patients before. Marud is speaking. And they can get a strength of insanity. I've seen them knock through full concrete walls. So possibly...
See, and depending on how he's designed, why, they could have slipped some kind of hide into his genetics to activate at some kind of point. There's all kinds of things that scientifically you may be able to do theoretically.
Mei Ling wouldn't be the first aristocrat to get a dangerous pet.
That's very true. And really, I think it's Mei Ling that we need to be worried most about. Because if she is the mind behind it all, 1, she's got inherent power. 2, she has monetary power. And 3, back to the spiritual power again. That's just very dangerous.
I think that you all are getting a little ahead of yourselves. Why don't we just talk to them?
Yes, hi, Billings. we're concerned you're a murderous monster that was created in a lab. Could you confirm or deny this, please?
Perhaps one of us should talk to him. That's not you.
I'll talk to him.
Yes, actually, let's let Frankie talk to him. You're right. I don't have the tact for it. Frankie, get in there, boy.
May I ask, Doctor, and this is Cal, are you concerned for your safety or possibly the safety of the group? Are you concerned that Billings will do something or act in some way to cause us harm?
Well, considering that it happened once already last night while we were jam-packed in a cave with a bunch of camels, I'm thinking that it's very possible that he could be a liability. But...
More so than he's been?
Well, until last night, he simply was a tag-along. He was a shadow in that manner. But then, something strange happened.
To play devil's advocate here, animals often react on smell. Maybe he used some kind of perfume or ate something that made him smell different.
I'm gonna peel off and go back towards the tent.
Go back in? All right. And Wolf is still inside. Mm-hmm. So when Frankie goes in, Cal will say, may I throw out another thing to consider? He is not our benefactor, but he is the one who will get us home. My question would be this: do you believe, and Doctor, this is you, I'm trying to work with your sentimentalities, do you believe that he could be more dangerous than, and this is not a disrespect, but a simple question, than Dr. Wolf?
That's fair.
Well, Cal, you have an interesting question there.
There are ways to get home from here. They will be difficult, they will be expensive, and they will not be as safe, relatively, as an airship that flies above all of the problems. I haven't seen Billings do anything that would put me above just a doddering old fool.
Well, clearly we can't just take him out here and shoot him in the desert. I mean, you know, that is not good for a few reasons, I guess.
You guess.
I don't know, honestly. I'd rather have Dr. Wolf here than him.
I think you're all giving Mr. Billings way too much credit.
So,
Raya, that actually is probably the most accurate thing you've said in this conversation.
so I will ask again, are you concerned that he is more dangerous than other people we travel currently with? And when I say dangerous, I mean a danger to us, not danger. If Rey took it upon himself, I believe that Rey probably could end most of the people here. So that's not what I mean when I say dangerous. I mean dangerous to the party as a whole, or to your specific person. Do you feel he is dangerous enough that we should go down this road of antagonizing the person who is going to get us home?
Oh, as of right now, yes, I do think he's dangerous, but no, let's not be antagonistic for right now.
So why don't we do this? Ayden, would you agree with this? Why don't we continue to watch him?
That seems fine to me. I just wanted to make you all aware of what I was made aware of.
Can I ask, in your knowledge, which is much more extensive than mine, probably than anyone else here, are you aware of that word? You said shadow, or the shadow. Are you possibly aware of that word meaning something else we should be aware of? Could it have a double meaning?
I do, but what I know of it is he does not fit any of the descriptions. There are talks of living shadows among ruins and stuff that drain people's life away.
This would be a fear to you, yes, Doctor?
No, I'm more concerned of him leading animates to us or something more physical than that. Or Mei Ling getting pissy at us and doing something to our minds.
So, for the remaining people out there, Marud kind of stands up, stands straight. They are all standing. Stands straight and takes a few steps away. It's odd. You're still talking. But he will step back. When he steps back in, he draws in a very loud draw into his nose. I'm sure everyone's staring at him, and it's as quiet as it is here at the table, right?
Anytime he talks.
There's a gravitas.
Marud's doing something.
There's a majesty to Marud.
I love that. That's great.
You can't help but just be like drawn in. Like, if it weren't for the fact that Wolf's in the tent, he'd probably be like, oh.
Wait a minute, this can wait. Marud's talking.
So Marud looks at the doctor, and he also looks at Raya, and he says, "May I ask you, in your dealings with animates, the two of you, have you found that they are drawn to you more than others?"
I'm gonna tell him no.
Should he make a roll to see if you're lying?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, I will tell him to myself no, but I have studied others whose blood has seemed to attract them more than others. Raya, I'm sure you've seen this in your line of work.
Indeed. I feel that they are drawn to me, but I also seek them out.
Do I need to make a bluff roll or anything?
No. So he says to you, he says, "So, Doctor, in your travels and your awareness of this affectation of the blood, have you noticed, I guess the word for you would be symptoms, that Mr. Billings has that would match that?"
Unfortunately, the symptom that is noticeable is only present when there are animates around. And I can't say that the last couple times we've had animates around I've paid attention to Billings.
Is it blood?
It is an affliction of the blood, yes.
If I may make a suggestion, we should probably not be talking about this, as those people who have such blood often disappear for their value, if I make myself clear.
You do. It sounds rather threatening. I would not bring this up as a group, but I felt that the crew here was those that would understand.
Just because there are others with us.
And you're giving the head nod towards Raya?
No, not Raya.
Oh, okay.
To the tent where the...
Oh, to the tent, yes. Well, I was not suggesting that we would speak with the ones in the tent. I'm simply asking this.
I just wanted to add that warning so you knew.
I notice that we are dealing with a collection of animates. You called them ghouls, and I have known them by two other names, but one of them matches that word, that do not appear to be the same as the animates that we run into, or that we have run into in both Prussia and Britain proper, in London. I'm wondering if possibly the doctor would be able to make a small blood draw and test that the next time we are around, to possibly simply set your own mind at ease. That fear appears to be the only problem.
I really like that idea, Marud. As a doctor, you could easily require taking blood samples to make sure haven't contracted anything.
Yes. Normally that would be the case. However, in lieu of recent events, not just the cave last night, there seems to be some doubting in my doctoring, so I don't know if that would be as easy as you say.
Doctor, I don't think so. Cal breaks in. I don't think there has been any question in your ability to take care of people when you choose to.
Oh.
And then Cal averts his gaze from you and looks right at Raya.
That's fair. My friends do know I'm an amazing doctor when I choose to do it.
In the game so far, I don't think you've lost anyone that you've worked on. To my memory...
I don't think so. I think I even got a low roll on some of the Bedouins and I didn't lose them.
Right.
I don't think.
In fact, I'm the one who lost someone, but that's because they were possessed by a demon.
See, that's why I don't take those cases. Statistics.
It's the careful thing. It's like, why are all Arnie movies generally good? Because he only picks ones he would be good in. Yes.
I have a 100% survival rate because people that die don't get marked down, and
So when Cal looks at me, I'm going to say, Dr. Wright, I don't question your skill as a physician. I question your morals and your integrity.
Yes, but as I was saying, your skills. So I don't believe anyone would question those. And Ayden, I think that's a marvelous idea.
all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you all talk to Mei Ling then about me getting their blood, and then you send them my way.
Wouldn't it be easier, Doctor, if you just came in and said, I want to take some blood samples just to make sure, since we've been out in these sands and conditions, I want to make sure nobody's become afflicted with anything?
If you got blood from everyone, they wouldn't feel singled out.
Yep.
Yes, and after before last night, I would say that is accurate. Let me put this in a different way. I won't do it unless you deal with Mei Ling.
Deal with her in what way?
Well, Ayden, while your thinking is interesting, I just meant you need to go and talk to her.
Why don't I ask her?
Excellent.
Cal says.
Cal can deal with Mei Ling. The point is, I'm not.
So the reason that we are asking for the blood draw is we are concerned as a group that possibly there is an affliction, and you want to just take a simple test of everyone to be certain it's not.
Sure, and you know what, Cal? Actually, go ahead and throw in the word hemoglobin, and I'm gonna say like 3 other big words to just sprinkle in there. And mind you, they probably have nothing to do with this. Like, I pick like a couple blood words and then like a couple words that are just funny to me. And then yeah.
So do you guys kind of wrap this up and head back in?
Yeah, that would be...
What if our decision doesn't end up with us walking back to London? I've done that trip. It's not fun.
So you know the way.
We have a guide.
So, Ray, I'm assuming you stay out to stay on your watch.
Yep.
And fairly quickly, Abrax will come out and join you as the other half. Now, remember, nicely, you can talk with Abrax. So, you have
I
that
have
ability.
that ability, yes.
Yep. So, inside, Cal goes over to Mei Ling. You guys will all see him talking quietly with Mei Ling. She nods. She seems to be very positive, and goes over to Billings. She talks with Billings for a moment. Mei Ling does. She talks with Billings for a moment. He nods yes, and you will all see her place pull out of her pack a syringe. She draws blood from him. Anyone who's watching, she'll draw blood from him. She takes the vial out. She sets it down at her side, puts a vial into her arm, or puts a vial into the syringe, draws from her. So
Now
Power up.
we were looking at the wrong person as the anathema.
I told you.
She draws from herself, and she's speaking to Cal, and Cal nods his head and lays out his arm as well, and Marud comes over and does the same, and Cal brings in straight order 4 tubes, and then when he hands them to you, and he says, if you have something to mark with, Doctor, and tells you which is each of the people's.
Cool.
All right.
I'll take them.
Do you then follow through with the stunt and go through everyone else? Here would be my question. Do you guys talk to the Bedouins, ask the Bedouins, anything like that?
Probably not.
Okay.
Ooh. I would not need to draw the Bedouins because the Bedouins they live in this area.
Yes.
I'm more concerned.
Beautiful
with people
explanation.
not from
Yeah.
here.
So you kind of throw that out there.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dr. Wolf, do you draw blood from Dr. Wolf?
Can you?
No,
Okay.
he's got enough going.
Do you
on.
make a fake
we
of
know
it?
he has problems.
Do you
We
make
don't
a
need
fake
to
of it,
speak more blood.
or just ignore it and hope no one sees it?
No, I'll go over and I'll say, Dr. Wolf, just go ahead and relax there. Don't worry. Keep doing as you are.
I mean, my pulse is fine, Doc. I don't
Yeah.
even feel the needle going in.
So do you draw?
Yeah, I'll draw. Why not?
Okay.
Doesn't
So-
anything come out?
Huh?
Doesn't anything come out?
Yeah, you stick in, you draw out, Once you pull out, no blood is at the point. Normally with everyone else, you'll just hold for a moment. His blood, once you have it, now keep in mind that it is getting less light in here. You do not have the outside sunlight as much, but it looks like the blood turns black. But more importantly, the blood turns semi-solid. It turns like jello. So, unless you're going to make a big deal,
That's a big change from where it was.
So you'll quietly kind of turn it over, and it kind of, as a full connective piece, clunks to the top, clunks to the bottom.
Interesting.
Since I'm just
And Wolf, of course, unfortunately, is obsessed in the other thing right now.
Exactly.
So he has no idea that this has happened.
trying to think there's no casual way. No, never mind.
All right. And so, I know you don't care about any tube at this point but one, but what test are you going to run?
Hey,
Well, basically,
Barry?
I'm going to
Yes.
draw myself.
when you go to draw blood from me, I get up and look at you with disdain and walk over to Mei Ling and hand her my arm.
Oh, she nods and says, yes, absolutely. If you'll hold still. Now, if anyone watches blood draw from the tube, the doctor's is quick, accurate, to the point, but almost everybody that gets stuck by him either grimaces or, like Rey, just takes it, right? In your case, when Mei Ling draws in, you barely feel it. If anybody is watching that difference, give me a wits perception roll. I don't know that anyone would, but if you think you might, give me a wits perception roll.
I was going to offer you a clean tip. You want the one she used on 4 people.
14.
So she does something slightly different. In the case of Dr. Wright, just as an odd thing, in the case of Dr. Wright, he cuts off circulation, brings up the vein, slides in, draws out. In the case of Mei Ling, she does almost the same thing, except that she pulls that skin tight where she then strikes with it. There's almost no grimace at all from Raya. So, blood's drawn, you have everyone's blood. Now, here's the important thing. If you want to write it down, you have everybody's blood.
Oh, I do, don't I?
I don't know how much that matters to you, but it is Dr.
Wolf
Wright.
keeps changing on us.
Yeah. Yours is the fun
if
one.
he says the whole "we don't need those because they're immune," I would say,
Wolf's
"Oh well,
blood,
I'm
Dave,
glad I don't like pills."
So, Ayden, you suggest maybe I don't need to be drawn.
Is there anything I actually want your blood for?
Aiden is
So you can make an army of
area.
sexy clones.
Those sexy
I'll
clothes.
say,
very sexy
well,
clothes.
no, I mean, no, I don't actually have a leg to stand on. I was going to say, well, you are half British, but you were raised here, right?
Yeah.
So I'll say, well, no, Ayden, I suppose since you were raised in this
His
area.
skin is like Corinthian leather.
Also, I want to say when I'm watching him take his blood, I'm gonna kind of like turn away.
Yeah, it's probably pretty. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that Wolf didn't see it. Or maybe it's actually more fortunate.
I think it's fortunate that he did.
I almost.
So, I will go back to Dr. Wright.
So then
What specific is there anyone's blood that you're testing other than Billings?
So I'm gonna start with. So the thing is I'll make a little note on there, but it's in my Dr. Chicken Scratch, so no one's gonna be able to tell
Right.
who's who.
I'm talking about what is the are there any other blood samples that are important other than Billings to you?
Rudes.
Do I have Maroon and Cal's blood?
Yes, you do.
Nice.
As I said, if you want to write it down, you have now that Ayden is give or
gonna
did
make a
Ayden
blood
give or
list.
not?
Nope.
All right,
I
so
already had
you
some of your blood before.
Yes.
But now it's different.
so you have
Oodles of wolf blood.
from the traveling group you have
Wolf's blood
everyone
just whatever.
from the traveling group you have everyone a small vial of everyone's blood except Ayden and the Bedouins.
Okay. So I will feign a test on each of them. But the first, I'm gonna save Wolf's for last. And what I do is I draw my blood, and I'm gonna do it so anybody watching other than Wolf, if Wolf was paying attention,
Wolf
he
is
would
not
see-
paying attention.
I'm testing his blood against my blood. Because I have the bad blood, so I know what it looks like in my
Gotcha.
blood.
Go ahead and give me. So is it medicine? Is there an alchemy?
There is an alchemy, but
yep.
wouldn't this be medicine?
It's going to start with medicine.
Interesting.
doctor, I'm almost beginning to think Dr. Wolf has turned into living scop.
Well, that would be good if we run out of food. It's Jello.
We serve
Gelatin,
patients.
It's horse-free gelatin.
It's blood pudding.
Is it?
It's blood pudding.
I mean, he kind of looks like
I'll
just.
use my free reroll.
Sometimes I'm glad Ray chooses to stay out of this stuff.
I mean, he kind of looks like a living piece of beef jerky. I don't.
Presently, he does. Keep in
work with
mind,
the bandage
he has
stuff. Yeah.
he has the large gash across his head. He has a small gash on his face. He has a chunk missing and is not doing anything out of his leg. And you have a chunk somewhere else. Where did you cut the chunk from?
The lower leg.
So you have two chunks out of the leg.
Yeah.
One that you cut and one that the beetle cut.
He's super buff too, right?
Yeah, he's in exceptional shape. You have, what is your base?
4
4.
vitality.
So he and Dr. Wright,
and that
I
was
think-
double
I have a 4 as
when they
well.
landed in Egypt. So.
Right. And he's going to look different than Dr. Wright. Dr. Wright is an extremely fit
58-year-old.
58-year-old. Dr. Wolf is an extremely fit
34-year-old.
34-year-old, basically in his prime. So yes, he looks very fit. Buff is without a doubt the sound.
But do you have 3 Mr. London awards? The Speedo competition was always my best. So 19 is what I got.
All right, and so what you're asking with doing the study is his blood like mine?
Does he have the bad blood trait?
No,
No.
you do not see that. Are there any other questions you would like to ask? Because in asking the question, what I'm envisioning is you asking me the question is you running that test. Barry and Pedro don't have a whole lot of medical doctory background that we can build on. So I'm saying, ask me the question. Your doctor would absolutely know how to run the test if it's testable.
Doctor?
No. Yeah.
Is there any way you can test that it's real blood?
There would be an interesting question. Do you know? Do anathema, because that's what you think he is, have quote-unquote real blood? Do you know?
Anathema would have real blood because they're like clones of people, so they would have real blood. If he had been altered, I imagine it would be
If
different.
it was degrading, would it show?
Barry, I, to be honest, don't know if there's an anathema test.
What I'm saying is, what would you like to know?
Yeah,
Don't worry about the test.
I'll see if he's an anathema.
Okay.
If I think that there's any blood-like indicators.
So go ahead and give me another roll.
19 again.
So as far as you can tell, it is normal blood in the sense that the things that you would expect to see there. He appears to be slightly anemic, which is low on iron, which could be from any number of things. His diet over the years, a specific problem with his body, or something that's happened here. It is possible to get a sickness that gives you anemia, but you're not seeing that.
Are you sharing that?
No, not yet. No.
Okay.
Are there more tests that you would like? Again,
Yeah.
I'm trying to say, Pedro, give me the question you want to know, and I'll tell you if you can get an answer. Rather than trying to figure out exactly the test we
Is
do.
his blood possessed? Does he have ghosts in his blood?
Yeah, does he have ghosts in his blood,
He
Jerry?
certainly will need to do cocaine about that. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
If I look through the microscope, do I see a little ghost that goes boo, and I go, ah?
For the rest of you, while he's running this, are all of you eating, which is limited, but eating and then winding down?
Oh, I'm watching Billings.
Okay.
Like a shark.
Well, Billings, for you guys for tonight, because after all this talk, probably all of you, other than probably the 2 doctors, will watch him periodically. At present, he has been going through a number of the Penny Dreadfuls that he has. He doesn't have an entire backpack full, but he will take them out, he'll look through. He probably has 6 of them, and they're pamphlet thin. You've watched him, he'll read a section, then he'll fold it over so that he can go back to it and stick it back in. Once he's done all that, he again takes out the book that you guys have seen him write in before and starts writing some things down.
Barry, I think I'd actually like to go talk to Billings.
Sure.
I'm going to go sit down by him and I'm going to say,
Miss Raya, hello.
I want to talk to you about the camels.
Oh, yes, they're amazing creatures, aren't they? Do you know that they can go days without drinking water?
Have
Ryan
you...
gets up again.
Ryan gets up.
Here's my gun.
The dialogue options just come back. It's like, I'm sorry, I need to go.
There's ... and
I need to go.
Have you had much experience with other beasts like that, with horses? Or...
Oh yes. In my days at Oxford and before, I was one of the better riders. The polo ponies, the few that we were able to use on a regular basis, I was the lead forward for it. I have ridden before. The camels, though, mind you, the camels are definitely something different. I mean, the move is not... It was difficult to get the rhythm and gait. You've heard the story of the centaur. They believe the centaur was actually the people seeing the Mongolians who were one with the horses, that they would ride down from the steps and they would look like a horse with a man's head on it because they were just one motion. I don't feel like I'm in one motion with the camels. I feel like the camels have a motion and I have a motion. And they're not going together well.
So when you were bitten by the camel the other day...
He didn't get me. He just got close. He bit at me, and this is not the first time. I believe he's done it, well, the one I'm on, I believe he's done it to me 3 times now. In fact, pretty much every time I get on him. He's
Sorry.
He's a rather randy bastard.
You're gonna cut this, right?
No, you're not gonna cut it.
Have you done anything to them? Have you...
Are you... Never, of course not. They're majestic creatures. I'm rather disgusted that you even... Raya, how does that thought enter your mind?
That's not what I meant.
Oh, and you can see he's very red-faced.
I meant, have you accidentally stepped on one of their feet?
They do have large feet.
Or
It's a split toe. But
accidentally
no.
tried to feed them something that they didn't care for? Or...
So he gets quiet when you say that.
Yeah, Frankie shushes anyone who talks right now.
You're like, so focused, like, with one finger up thing? So
What did you try to feed them?
He says, well, it wasn't them. It was simply mine. And he looked hungry. I mean, again, they don't need to drink, but I'm certain that they need to eat. And I was having a little slice of the scop, and I felt like possibly he was hungry enough. I did give it to him. He was not pleased with it. I don't think scop is in the normal regime for a camel.
No, scop is not what they eat.
But I mean that was it. I mean, and it was the piece that I was eating. And truth to be told, I didn't let it go to waste. It's a small tent. It's not yelling this, but
I'm doing my work and I hear scop, and I'm just like, are you fucking serious? That stupid asshole has scop in his pocket.
When I hear that, I'm gonna go,
that
wow, now would
explains
be
a
a
lot.
good time to go scouting. And I just go head out of the tent.
Hey, it's the middle of the night.
Yep, great time.
Thank you, Mr. Billings, for that information.
oh, absolutely. Was there anything else?
Not at this time.
Before you go, however, let me show you what I've found. And he opens up and he starts pulling the pamphlets out. He says, now, we were speaking earlier about the odd things that would go on in the desert. I have this. I did find a small section on pyramid power, but it seems to be a second part to it.
I need to go help with watch. Maybe some other time.
Okay. I will mark where we're at. Absolutely. He
Rey
takes
is
the
standing
pieces
outside
back.
the tent, just like slightly vividly remembering when Billings just decked a camel, and is wondering if that has to do with anything to do with this.
Oh my god, he did deck a camel.
I forgot he decked a camel.
That's right. Okay, so that son of a bitch.
So I'm going to walk by you and go, Frankie, I have not practiced in a while. Would you like to join me?
Yes, absolutely, right?
There will still be heat coming up from the sands. You guys easily have another hour or two before it starts getting, I would use the word, cold.
I want to kill Billings for a different reason.
He's not dangerous. He's just bad with animals.
I do think that the
I feel very sorry for the polo ponies at Oxford.
what do you make of his personality change, Raya?
I think the desert's brought out the worst in all of us. Billings included.
That makes sense. I do find logic there.
Rey's fine.
Are you there? Yeah.
No.
Third person.
Well, he will be there once you guys get outside, unless
Yeah.
you go away from where he's at. He and Abrax is the other one that's out there standing watch with him.
Do you truly wish to train?
Yes,
Shall we invite Rey?
of course.
Oh yeah.
Rey.
All right.
Frankie is gleeful now. Rey, I have seen you in action. It is excellent.
And what's fun for me for perceptually is I'll just remind you of the vivid differences. Frankie's about 5'3", and Rey is 6'7",
6'7".
6'7".
You were really good at fighting, Rey.
And it's not just height; it's also girth. But Frankie is exceptional in his own way. I mean, as far as I know, Frankie maintains the headsman's axe with plum.
Yeah,
no
Frankie's,
problem.
like compact, he's very small, but he's super squirrely.
Rey is Colossus. Frankie is Wolverine.
I was about to say, yeah, they need a fastball special, but since we're British, it's a lawn bowl special.
I am not ashamed to admit that I feel that you would best me in battle. However, could you best Raya and I?
You know what? I'm feeling like a betting man tonight.
So what's interesting is Rey does not fight with weapons. I mean, I believe you can use a gun.
Nope.
No. So Rey does not fight with handheld weapons other than the knuckle dusters he wears. So there is that. And the knuckle dusters you wear have some kind of a raised claw, right?
Yes.
You can use them to potentially parry or turn a blade, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Have you built them to break a blade? I don't know that you would have studied that, but just as a general thing, something for us to think about in the future, did you build them to catch and break a blade, or just literally be able to kind of turn a blade?
I don't feel like they're that large.
Okay, very good. So if you guys are fighting, it's going to be, I mean, and again, we're sparring. If you're going hand to hand, it's going to be a little different than if you guys are using weapons.
Yeah, Frankie would purposely plant his axe and leave it.
Okay. So, Ayden, once you are out, and since you guys are sparring, go ahead and give me a wits perception roll. Do not re-roll it or waste anything. Not Ayden, but Raya, Frankie, and Rey. Anybody with over an 18, let me know.
I crit failed. I don't know nothing.
No,
I'm
'cause
so
you're completely
excited.
focused,
I'm like,
yeah.
Free Shot's gonna punch me in the head.
21.
So with a 21, you will notice that a few moments after Ayden leaves, Marud leaves as well and follows in the direction Ayden's gone. So Ayden, are you going into the city? Basically, are you crossing the line where the stela is and going into the city proper, or are you going into, I'm going to use the word, the wilderness? Are you going away from the city?
I'm going into the city.
Okay.
I'm trying to find a high point that would give me a good advantage.
You already know there isn't
Okay.
one. The highest point would be climbing up one of those broken down walls. In fact, there is not really a high point in a close proximity to where you are. You are fairly straight line. If there is any level of a reflective moon tonight, and knowing the desert well enough, you know there will be a sliver of one, you're going to be able to see for a very long distance in all directions.
All right, so basically what I'm going to be doing is I'll grab my shovel, and I'm going to be kind of just like, I'm going to look to see if there's wells or things that might be wells.
So you are going into the city?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you'll make your way in. Now, Abrax laid out for you originally the layout for the city. As you are heading in, there is a northern, I apologize, I have my list here. There is a north city. He described to you a central, the suburbs, and then the outskirts. Southern suburbs and the outskirts were the terms that he used. And again, the northern is the palace area. There is a specific area for Ayden. There's a specific layout for that. But in addition to that, there are the guest quarters. The royal family also lived here. The central city, he had explained to you, as far as they could tell, were the great and small temples to the Ayden, and then brewcrafters and administrators. Interesting how those two sit together. The southern suburbs tend to be the general residential displacement and the wealthy elite. The outskirts were the peasant farmers and the tomb workers. The majority of people lived in the outskirts, so the highest, I'm going to use the word population, was there.
Okay. Knowing that brewing requires water, I'm going to kind of head over in that general direction.
Okay, so we're heading to Central City.
Yep.
So the central portion of the city, as you start heading in, go ahead and give me a wits perception roll.
So that's 15?
Nothing I need to tell you yet, just need to be aware of that. So as you're going, you are basically trying to dig and find some form of a well. So one of the things that you know, having been in ruins for a very long time, is that were you to find a well, I'm going to use the word active in the sense that it could still be used, it is probably going to be filled with sand.
Right.
And it is not a simple thing to excavate that. I'm not certain what direction you would try and go to get to it, but with some work, and for the fighters who are sparring, 30 minutes of workout, an hour of workout. I know you wouldn't go past that, which?
Probably 30 minutes.
What?
That's enough.
Okay.
Ideally, what I'm looking for isn't necessarily an open well, but somewhere where they got water and maybe had a close or a lid on it.
Right. I've got what you're saying. So for the fighters, Ray, you will finish out your guard duty. For the other two, when you go in, you will notice, and you already knew this, Raya, but you will notice that both Ayden and Marud do not appear to be inside the tent. Just as an awareness thing.
Well, wait, who won?
For you guys?
Yeah.
Do you really want to do that? All right. Give me the roll off. It's the two of you are rolling against Ray.
Do we get to add? Or how do you want to do it?
What I'm going to have you guys all do is make your roll, give me your final numbers. The difference of the two of you over the target number and the difference he has alone over the target number are going to be where the win would be. Rerolls if you want. I'm just saying give me your final roll.
I got two corruption rerolls.
Oh, actually, I apologize. Ray has an ability where he can immediately take a second free action that is an attack, correct?
I do too, but I wasn't going to use it. I was just going to do one.
Okay,
But
you have the same ability?
Yeah, it's called Spitfire, I think.
Okay, and
I
that's
can
the
make
same one, Ray?
That's actually a separate ability.
All right.
Interesting.
What's the ability you have? I thought you had one where if you were taking an attack action, you got a free attack action. Or am I remembering it wrong? And it's Frankie who has that specific.
I think it's for him.
Yes, so what Spitfire does is I can make him one additional unarmed combat attack each turn.
Okay. And for Ray, do you remember what yours was? Raya, do you have your? Don't give it to me. Do you have your final number?
I do.
And Frankie, do you have your final number?
I do.
Okay. Do you not? If you don't remember it, Ray, it's just me remembering something for no reason.
Well, I remember it is an ability, and I bought it. I just can't find it for the life of me.
Okay.
As long as you know the effect.
And do you remember what the effect was?
Yeah, so basically, as long as I make an action that is directly a combat action, I can take an additional action. And Spitfire is another ability beyond that.
Okay.
That's the one that allows you to make unarmed combat rolls in addition to whatever.
I remember you having that.
Oh,
you used
wait,
it before.
is that right? Your attack is you can make an unarmed combat roll on top of a standard roll?
Yeah.
Since you guys are in unarmed combat, that would not affect you. So it will still work the way I was thinking. So, Rey, you're going to add 2 points to your total. All right. So if we have the numbers, Rey, give me yours.
18.
Okay. And so, give me one sec. Raya.
23.
Oh, well, there you go. Don't even need Frankie's. Wow. All right. So, but again, 2-on-1. But it's not a simple fight. And again, spar. It is not a simple spar. And what the two of you generally have, Raya and Frankie, are, in the case of Frankie, they are not nasty. They are low blows and cuts that bring the person down.
Yeah.
In the case of Raya, it tends to be ones where you are using the person's body mass and speed to readjust where they're coming from. And Rey's size would normally be a massive disadvantage against you. It wasn't. So he fights differently. And the reason he fights differently that you guys will see is he fights as a pugilist, where you guys fight in a martial art style. And I don't mean specifically Asian. I mean a martial art style where you are using your body as thrusts. He is using the power he's got. So he can make a throw that literally throws you and does not give you, Raya, that ability to take his momentum, because it is strictly an extension of his body. But definitely you guys are all sweating.
And I figure we'll all shake hands, and then I'll tell Rey, next time you and I against Raya.
I think that sounds pretty fair.
So again, you guys go back in, and Ayden will be gone, and Marud will be gone. So Ayden, as you are moving around, you're looking for that. You will find areas where water was dropped in. You'll find some of the old bays where the brew crafter would be making the initial batch before it was barreled. But you're not finding a water source here. You do find a couple of the wells, but like I said, the difficulty with that is you don't know how deep they would be, and in many of the wells that have that depth, you don't end up finding water in the future. So because we're looking at a city that is over 3,000 years old, 3,300 and something years old.
While I'm in the brewery, I'm going to see, because I know they found old casks of beer still there. And No old casks.
Nothing like that. You would immediately assume once you look in that direction. Again, the biggest problem is the fact that there's no building that has 4 walls, even partial walls. There's no building that has 4 walls standing over a foot. So you might have one that's 3.5 feet, but then the other ones are literally the foundation stones. But in addition to that, you know that the Bedouins bring to Cairo, possibly to Alexandria, although that's a much longer trek, the Bedouins will bring stuff to sell. And they've been doing this for the entirety of the time you've been here, and they are not new at it. So it could have been hundreds of years of them bringing it in. So anything that's going to be obvious and freestanding, the only way you're going to find something like that is if you find an entrance to something that they didn't see.
Okay.
And that's improbable.
All right. I'll probably... Does it look like there were any aqueducts or like things
Not
of that
here.
nature? Okay.
Not here. Go ahead and give me your... Oh, God, would it be... It's definitely going to be wits perception if I can't figure anything else to go with it. But give me your natural science ability.
That's 15.
So with a 15, you are aware that this area was a swamp previously.
Yeah.
The whole area has changed over the millennia, but this area was a swamp. You can see it in the fact that much of the city has sunk.
Okay. So, doing that, because I don't want to stay out here too long. Also to remind you, I do have the double cautious, so I'm harder to be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm gonna...
Are you worried, Matt?
Yeah. What I will do is, I think I'm gonna head back and I'm gonna try to set up some dew collectors since it gets cold. I mean, I don't know if there's humidity.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. It's not going to be an extreme amount, but yeah, you'll
Enough
set those
to
up.
keep us-
And then you don't need to roll.
Okay.
You're capable of those. And then you'll head back in?
Yep.
All right. So you'll come in approximately 2 hours after the rest of you have finished. We're getting close to the first change in watch, and Marud will come in maybe 15 minutes after Ayden comes in, and he just steps over to where Cal is, speaks with Cal in low tones for a few moments, and goes out. Dr. Wolf, I know you're still working on what you were working on. Dr. Wright, have you? Is there anything else that you want to do with the bloods that you've got? That are questions you want to ask me?
Yeah.
How does it taste?
One thing I want to also check Mayling's blood for abnormalities of any kind.
Just tell me when you say abnormalities. Just
I don't have a specific.
There's not a specific.
No,
Okay.
unhuman or anathema, the things that I was looking for in Billings.
So Mayling has a slightly less than normal number of white blood cells in the mix. Not so much that you would be concerned, but were you in London, you might suggest that she start taking a tonic to bring those numbers up, because she would have a greater chance of getting sick.
Okay. So if there's nothing weird with her. This is interesting. I want to check Marud's blood to see if it's the same as Frankie's. To see if there's any abnormalities with him.
Go ahead and give me a roll.
Oh, that means we might have something. I gotta say, I'm curious about Marud.
We all are.
And actually, no, I have other reasons why wanting to know if.
Chip it if it's
No.
not right.
It's 20. But I also want to know if there is. I'll actually spend a little extra time on Marud's blood, because I want to know if he has anything that I'm able to test for disease-wide, illness-wide. Any weaknesses is what I'm looking for.
Okay. So Marud has quite a number of, and again, I'm making assumptions because of having read the rule book, suggesting that in most ways their level of medicine in this game is higher than ours today. So you can see going through there that he has had a number of sicknesses through his time. Things like dengue fever, yellow fever, those type of things. Probably doesn't have Lyme's disease, it's the wrong area, but a number of diseases that he seems to have fought through, but you can see that they have been there. You're starting to see things like understanding that though he has ritual scarring on his face, it is also possible that some of that was pocked before it was ritually scarred. So he's had, from his blood, he's had a fairly rough life. He is not, as far as you can tell, a throat.
Oh, okay,
There was
guys.
nothing to you that would suggest that. There is definitely something different about his blood. One of the things is the actual cells are larger. There's a difference in everybody's blood. Even within the blood, cells are larger and smaller. All of his cells are larger. It would mean that his vascular system would have to be larger as well. Otherwise, they would be starting to pile up. We would have clots and the like. Even very thin blood, we would have clots and the like. So something is different about Marud, but it's new.
Okay.
And mutation is nothing new to you. So, and when we say mutation, we're talking about for this game, not a post-apocalypse. So just, it's abnormal is what mutation means. And he is abnormal in that way.
Okay.
You think it would allow him to carry more oxygen potentially, and that would give him benefits to endurance, possibly benefits to strength, not ludicrous amounts, but small benefits. He might be able to run for an extra minute or two longer than the average person at a full run, that type of
The
thing.
stuff I've seen him do makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. And he's a fine specimen just in general. You've noticed that.
Okay, excellent. After that, honestly, at this point, I'm kind of needing a little rest, and Dr. wolf's blood's not really going anywhere as far as... Well, actually, it is kind of going somewhere. It's going a little wonky, but I'll deal with his blood later.
So I want you to give me... You have obsession, I believe, right?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Just to stop, I want you to give me the roll. You're level 1?
I'm level 3.
Level 3,
It's
so
a
you need a
DR
16 plus? Or DR 14 plus?
14.
Okay.
And that's will. Yeah, no, I got that. That's,
Okay. So you do end
yeah.
when you choose
like
to
17,
end.
So.
All right. So for everyone, the night passes without much. For the watches, the wind does pick up. For the later watches, you're doing what you had to do in every other place. It is maybe 3 to 8 degrees colder up here because the wind can blow. You're going to sit mostly in the tent. You and in the second 2 watches, you can't speak with your Bedouin counterpart, but you can make basic hand signals like I'm stepping out. Ayden.
Before I go to bed, I want to go check the candle that I had set up.
Candle is still up.
Okay.
Candle is still burning.
Okay.
And again, if you guys don't remember, Ayden had left out a prayer candle, and what he explained to you is if the candle is still burning in the morning, then it means that the spirits will allow you guys into the city. All right? Now for Ayden, you already know that you've broken that by not waiting the full day and went into the city without the candle. But the candle was lit when you went in.
Right.
So
Good, we're cursed
it didn't
now.
get blown out. So technically...
No, he's
cursed.
He'll be with us.
Yeah, that's right. If you're
I
not
don't
cursed,
know.
but the
Let's draw
cursed
his
person
blood.
goes with
Let's
you.
see whose blood is the most cursed. I think that's an important question.
What do you roll
to
for
ask.
blood curse?
Yeah, but what's the blood curse? I have a blood curse. Oh,
I have a blood curse too.
oh blood curse 5. Ugh.
So you'll be in and out again with that cold. For the later groups, you guys are going to see that candle. You know, it's potentially the most interesting thing that you see through the night. There will be some noises, a couple of animal noises that are not something that you know, very far off, never come close, mostly on the wind. So could be let go as being something blowing through somewhere, but you all take it as being animal noises.
Or is it?
Wolf is up late. Like, if at minimum, it's not until 2 in the morning.
Well, give me your roll. I want to know when you go.
Which roll are you wanting from?
The obsession roll.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can stop when I want to.
All right. So I'm going to have you
I just
end.
don't want to.
I know.
I'm just
I'm going to
kidding.
have you end in second watch.
Okay.
And you are studying what? Your body?
No.
Or that alchemical mixture that might be able to increase the power of light or electricity?
That's pretty much what he's focusing on. The latter one is the idea is that what they're suggesting is like it doesn't make sense for it to be galvanic, but maybe it's something that is harnessing light itself, and maybe there's an alchemical mixture or something like that, and the sphere is just the vessel that's holding the mixture that can fire out whatever it is, and that's
Okay.
kind of where
So
he's going on.
what I'm going to say, go ahead and give me an alchemy roll.
You've invented solar power. It's gonna be not very lucrative in London.
That is going to be
The king in
22.
Egypt.
So with a 22, you cannot be certain, but you absolutely believe that you have some kind of a mixture that would be able to focus the rays better. The issue is the vessel to put it in. What could you put through it? And that's kind of your stopping point.
Right.
That is not something that you're going to be able to figure out. At this
Right.
point, you think you have what goes inside. You don't know the vessel to go in there, and there may not be such a vessel. But
Exactly.
that's what finally, after perplexing yourself for a while, you're like, I'm going to have to find somebody else to do this. But you have a fairly good feeling about the chemistry inside. It's not particularly volatile,
Yeah.
but it'll do the job, you think. So, next morning, what I need as the sun comes up, the last watch was Frankie or Raya?
It was me.
All right. So, Frankie, you are going to give me a vitality roll at -1. Raya, you are going to give me a vitality roll at -0.
I got 22.
22. So you are fine. The little bit of sleep that you had before, plus the lack of the night before,
16.
does not affect you. And Raya, the same thing. Tomorrow night, if you guys take the same watch position, meaning second and third, I'm not even gonna have you roll. So next morning, the light hits and the Bedouins are already starting to move. They will let you guys lay. I believe Ayden would be up roughly the time they are. Raya, Frankie, and Rey can all give me wits perception. No, I'm sorry, Frankie can't. Frankie's up. Raya and Rey can give me wits perception rolls.
17.
12.
All right. And so both of you guys will wake up with the group that is moving around. It is light enough that you are seeing inside the tent hazy. It's roughly 30 minutes before you guys are fully seeing. The group is up. You guys are eating scop, drinking water. The Bedouins will approach Ayden and let you know that because of the loss of the camel, the water bags, that someone, they would say it as we, I don't think they would say someone, we need to find water. We should have a group that heads back and pulls water from the stream. Abrax would tell you there is no water in the city.
All right. Let me see if anybody wants to volunteer for that. I'm also at that point, I'm going to head down and check my collector, see if I got some water.
There's a very limited amount.
All right. I'm going to bring that into the shade so it doesn't...
Yeah, doesn't now evaporate.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm checking my candle, see if it's gone out.
The candle is still lit.
Excellent.
Do you put it out?
Nope.
Okay.
So I'll head in and say, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be many sources of water around here. I'm doing dew collecting, which will give us some, but probably not enough, especially if somebody gets injured. Would anybody be willing to go with one of the Bedouins to collect water from the spring we passed on the way here?
I'll go.
It'll be a day-long trip.
I'll go. I just need to make sure I take care of my wounds here real fast.
Billings says, and if one was to go with, what would one miss here? What's happening inside the city today?
Okay, I want to make like a sort of a persuasion roll to keep him here.
Too, if you want.
And I want to sell him on it, like, we might discover something.
Oh, you don't need to make a persuasion roll. If you give him any reason to stay, he'll stay.
Okay.
And he won't say, well, then I won't go. He just nods his head.
Okay.
I'll say, well, Billings, if you were to stay instead of go, well, you would miss an experience to be able to go and travel in the desert and be the hero to bring back water. Why don't you and Mei Ling go with one of the Bedouins? That way 3 can go.
So Billings is looking at you and looking at Ayden. He says, I think it would be much better if I stayed. If I was to see what we could show, again, it could expand what we can do with the Zeppelins, with the travel. I agree with you, Ayden. I will stay.
When he says that, does his tone change at all? Because he went from not mentioning the Zeppelin for how many days to right this moment mentioning the Zeppelin?
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't read anything that way.
Okay.
I get what you're saying, but no, you would not read anything that way. Cal says Marud and I would be willing to go as well. It's simply for safety. It's not, and Cal is telling everyone, but kind of directing it as a question to you. It's simply for safety. It's not that anyone really needs to. It's just going to be time-consuming filling the water skins.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. And maybe possibly we could find the missing camel or camels,
Which would also be very handy.
Well, it would be a shame for anyone to miss finding the missing camels.
So Dr. Wolf, Marud, Cal, and Abrax are going to go. Abrax will ask you, is there somebody who could at least, and he eventually looks at Dr. Wright, but is still speaking to you, Ayden. Is there somebody that could look in at Zasser throughout the day? He will need to be given water. I will leave him a skin, but if he moves through it with what's happened.
Yeah, I will be sure to check in on him.
Very good.
He got
He got kicked by the camel.
Oh, the camel kick guy. Yeah. Okay.
So
He doesn't even assign names to them. It's like they're not people, they're patients.
So the rest of the group is staying and going into the city.
Yeah.
All right.
And Wolf, of course, is going to clean, like, the areas that he's got injured, put bandages on and stuff like that, try to keep them clean, try to keep the sand and stuff out of it.
Absolutely. And so we will split the party and we'll continue next week.
Yeah. No deal.
All right.
I was gonna say, Averax, if you run out of food, eat the doctor. He's like,
Thank you for listening to another NCRP Productions podcast. To stay on top of everything we're doing, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and like us on Facebook, all at NCRP Productions. You can show your support and help us continue to produce content by joining our Patreon. We offer additional podcasts like our B-Sides and have GM materials, maps, and other fun things you can discover over time. You can find our podcasts on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, and many other fine podcast sites. Just look for us at NCRP Productions. We value your thoughts, so please don't hesitate to leave us feedback or comments. And if you would like to contact us directly, you can email us at ncrpproductions@gmail.com.